Hello, I'm Cole Powell, award-winning singer-songwriter from Random Mind Records. If you enjoy what you hear, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click the bell for notifications. Also, if you'd like the ability to help us choose what content to react to on the channel, as well as early access to reaction videos, consider supporting us on Patreon for $1 a month. The link's in the description. We also have $2 and $3 tiers that would give you access to exclusive content such as full-length album reactions, as well as full-length music-related television episode reactions. Alright, so we've done a couple of these videos. They're basically a current best of, or in one case we did a worst of, Artist X by a publication of some kind. And we haven't actually got a lot of views with these, but I love doing them. It's one of my favorite types of content that we've done on the channel. So to just kind of break the monotony up a little bit, I'm going to do another one because I just saw this, I think yesterday. We're filming this on June 2nd. This article was released on May 28th, so we're 5 days old here. And it's by a fairly prominent magazine, Far Out Magazine. And it's about my favorite band of all time, Creedence Clearwater Revival. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know I'm a Creedence nut. I'm a John Fogerty nut. I'm trying not to let this turn into the all CCR John Fogerty channel, but I saw this opportunity. I just had to do it. This is Far Out Magazine's The 10 Best Songs by Creedence Clearwater Revival. It was written by Tom Taylor and L. Palmer. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through here, just take a look at all these songs that these authors have deemed the 10 best CCR songs, and comment on the songs, comment on the choices, see if I agree, see if I disagree, and I'll let you know up front. For me, there are no bad CCR songs, so it's probably going to be really hard for me to kind of parse this, but I'm gonna see what we can do here. So let's get started. Up first is Green River. All right, Green River. That is a great one. Let's see what the authors have to say here. Gives a little background of what this song was about, that Fogerty wrote this song about his own experiences and childhood memories up at this camp in, it says here, Winters, California. I could not have told you the name, didn't remember. And it's a classic swamp rock CCR song. Right off the bat, I feel like this and Born on the Bayou are CCR's two stereotypical, prototypical swamp rock songs that I feel like it may need to be a little bit higher on the list, because the swamp rock was, to me, their biggest contribution to the overall rock sound and the music canon, American music canon. So we're going to take a little listen here, about 30 seconds. Now this isn't the mix that I prefer, unfortunately, but all right, yeah, we'll pause it right there so we won't get in trouble with YouTube or anything. We just keep moving on. Yeah, great song. It's got that drawn-in, low, dirty swamp sound. I'm not wild about this mix. All of these lyric videos, and I'm not sure why they did this, are mixed with all the instrumentation and vocals centered. And I prefer the mix that I grew up listening to, which was some instruments are pan left, some are pan right. And I believe it was the acoustic guitar comes in on that left side, and it's really scratchy. It's played by John's brother Tom, who's the rhythm guitarist. It's really scratchy. I love a scratchy acoustic. I do that in most of my own material because of CCR, because I love that sound so much. And yeah, it's just a great song, and the imagery just paints this complete picture of playing out in this swamp as a kid. Just really, really great stuff. Excellent choice for the list so far. I'm not sure if that's where I would put it, but we'll see. Hopefully I'll be able to figure that out more as we go along here. Number 9 is Just a Thought. This is This is a surprising choice. It's Just a Thought is an album cut from CCR's Pendulum album, which was their next to last album. It was the last album that John's brother Tom played on before he quit the band. It's an odd bird in CCR's catalog. I love it. It's one of my favorite records. Almost all of them are one of my favorite records, though, so it's not really saying much. But it was basically John. They had just come off this huge success with COSMO'S Factory. It was their biggest selling album. It yielded, I can't even remember how many hit singles off there, like 8 hit singles off of this one record. And there were a lot of critics. People don't realize this now. There were a lot of critics of CCR that they were just... Oh, they're just a hits band. They can't do albums, and that was a big thing. Like, real rock bands can do albums at the time, and they got a lot of hate for that from critics. And I feel like John was trying to answer them by saying, "Hey, we're more than just a one-trick pony. We're more than just a singles band. We can do albums," which is why there was only one A-side, B-side single released from Pendulum. The rest of them were really album-centric tracks. It's Just Thought is one of those tracks. And I love it. I think it's a great song. It's very interesting and different in CCR's catalog, much like the full Pendulum album. But I don't even think that would crack a top 10 best album cuts for me, let alone 10 best CCR songs overall. Again, I do think it's a great song, but I don't think it's top 10 material, probably not even top 20, 25 for me, and that's not saying anything negative about the song. Their catalog is just that good. So let's see what the authors say here. John Fogerty's voice is sort that could silence a hurricane. I love that. That's a great analogy there. With It's Just a Thought, we hear his growl hit an impassioned height, cutting through a rolling bass line. John Fogerty's top-line vocal melody sloshes great glugs of dark energy into this otherwise laid-back anthem. Yes, that's not a bad description of the song. I agree with that. On the strength of that vocal performance alone, the song is allowed to build from a very simple rhythm section set up toward sweet ballad. When Springsteen credited the power of their simplicity, it was surely this sort of track he had in mind. Yeah, I don't disagree with this analogy, but I just feel like that there are many other songs, both album cuts and hit singles, that are overall better in terms of production, in terms of songwriting, in terms of vocal delivery, as good as Fogerty's vocals are on here, in terms of musicianship, everything I think is better on a lot of other songs than this one. So this would, I would have to disagree with that. Let's take a little listen. Very, very 70s. Right in the era in which it was made. Not very CCR-like at all, but good. Yeah, again, really good song, really different, outside the box for them. Great vocal performance. He's capturing that 70s feel in a way that I don't think that they do on a lot of songs, but still, it doesn't have anything to it to really make it an iconic track, and CCR has so many great iconic tracks. I don't think this one makes the top 10 for me. Up next, SUZIE Q. I just did a review of SUZIE Q, or just released at the time we filmed this. I actually filmed it a month ago, and it's probably going to be 2 months ago by the time this video comes out. But SUZIE Q, great tracks, cover of Dale Hawkins, a classic song. CCR did this phenomenal dark blues rock. Actually was a jam. The album cut was an 8 minutes plus jam. Absolutely fantastic. Again, though, Fogerty wrote so many great originals that it's hard for me to say that this would also make the top 10 as good as it is. I would be hard pressed to put a cover in the top 10 unless it was something like maybe Midnight Special. Midnight Special is a really, really great cover, even though it wasn't a single and it's not as well known. Just the raw power of John doing this bluesy version of a classic folk song. Really good. So I'm not sure if SUZIE Q will make the cut for me. Let's take a little listen here. Fade up on those drums, man. Yeah, I love the mix on this. It's so weird. By our modern standards, they got the electric all the way over here on the left side, the drums and rhythm, electric rhythm and vocals all over here with the drum. It was the early days of stereo. I've actually read John talking about them mixing this song. And I let that run way too long. I'm probably gonna cut that. But yeah, great version. It just showed John's ability to really take a classic song and turn it into something, make it his own. This is kind of the beginning of the swamp rock sound. Like John would take this blues rock version of these cover songs that he was doing and turn it into something new and original for his own swamp rock material that he would do with CCR. Up next, number 7, Who'll Stop the Rain? Yeah, right off the bat, I'm going to say this would definitely be a top 10. I see the authors here talk about this being that CCR was able to capture the zeitgeist of the period in a mystic way with this song. It talks about John telling about how he wrote the song that was about Woodstock. Yeah, this was just, it's iconic. It stood the test of time. The lyrics are such that they could really be interpreted in a variety of different ways. And there's also some metaphors of the turbulent period of the late 1960s when he wrote this. Yeah, absolutely great song. One of the first really roots rock songs. Fogerty is often called the godfather of roots rock. Let's take a listen to this. Yeah, great stuff here. Great, catchy sing-along chorus. Great hook. Great commercial songwriting, but there's also some meat, some thematic depth, weight to it. Also, an iconic intro. John wrote many iconic intros. This is no exception, and it just immediately gives you a picture of the rain falling as soon as you hear that lick down, down, and the chord progression. It goes to G and then E minor. That it gives the feeling of the rain pouring down. There's a happiness yet sadness at the same time. Absolutely incredible from top to bottom. Definitely belongs in the top 10. Not sure exactly if I would have it at number 7. May actually have that one a little higher. Number 6, Proud Mary. I don't know why this is at number 1. Not that it's my favorite CCR song, but it's just so iconic. And it's lived. It was an immediate standard. When John wrote this and it came out, everybody recognized that this song was brilliant and everybody was covering it. This has been reinterpreted so many times, most notably by Tina Turner, whose version probably is more well-known than CCR's, I would say, but absolutely fantastic. Another great intro. The chord progression of that intro is so unique, so unusual, and Fogerty talked about writing that intro to try to make a musical emulation of the sound of the riverboat wheel turning. I thought that was just such a brilliant way to do that. Also, the chorus, of course, I talked about Who'll Stop the Rain. It was a great hook. Great commercial songwriting, and the Proud Mary is no exception. Yeah, the Rolling on the River line, fantastic. So let's take a listen here. This is actually a live cut is what they posted here, so this won't be the studio, but still really good. This is from the Royal Albert Hall show, which I also did a reaction to. There's that chord progression. Just immediately gets you grooving. All right, yeah. Again, great stuff here. Great hook. I wish they would have had the studio cut because it was, to me, the studio cut superior to this. Wasn't a huge fan of this whole Royal Albert Hall set just because the sound quality wasn't that great because it wasn't specifically recorded and preserved to be released like this. But quibbles aside, the song is great. The chord progression is C A C A C A G F D. That's an odd progression. Like, you don't hear that in any pop song. And for him to write that and come out with this as the beginning of a song, smack you in the face with it, and the song become one of the most iconic songs of all time, a giant hit. It was a number 2, I believe, for them. One of their many number 2s. They never hit number 1. Just absolutely incredible, incredible songwriting. All right, up next, we have number 5, Run Through the Jungle. Run Through the Jungle, yeah, that's a great one. Right off, I'm not so sure if that would be in the top 10 for me. Again, there's just so many other iconic songs I think are overall better songwriting. It's a great song. It, again, has kind of that swampy, dark, swampy mystique that CCR is best known for, that I mentioned. That's really, to me, that's their contribution to the American canon. Let's take a listen here. This is very hard too. It sounds almost like ahead of its time, like more of the 70s, even maybe some 80s hard rock. That intro there. Great opening riff. Yeah, great strong hook again. I feel like it's ahead of its time a lot of ways melodically, especially with that opening instrumentation that sounded very, very hard. It's dark. The idea of Run Through the Jungle, that's what you feel like you're doing when you're listening to this song. I'm not sure, though, if that would make the top 10 for me. Number 4, Bad Moon Rising. Yeah, right off the bat, I think this is going to be top 10 best CCR songs. What he did with this, I've reviewed their records in writing before on my website. I don't think there's anything up right now. I think you have to go to Internet Archive to find those because I completely redid my website and lost a lot of that stuff. But anyway, Bad Moon Rising was really John. Musically, he was taking the rockabilly sound that he grew up listening to, that he loved, and updating it a little bit for a new generation, and then writing these dystopian apocalyptic lyrics for this really happy upbeat rockabilly tune, which is just brilliant and genius. It's a marriage that you never think would work, yet it works so well. And let's see what the authors have to say here. It goes on to talk about how it's an American standard, just a new American standard, just like Proud Mary. I agree with that completely. Great song. Definitely think it's a top 10 choice. Let's take a listen. This is another one where the mix is not the original mix. Yeah, excellent. Again, he took really a dead genre, updated, not much, just slightly, put some apocalyptic lyrics in there, which is very original, totally unexpected, into this peppy tune, which you're singing about the end times. And he had a giant hit with it that has, again, stood the test of time. A new American standard, as the author said here. Great song, excellent choice for this top 10 list. Number 3, Have You Ever Seen the Rain? Again, this is an immediate top 10 for me. It's about the breakup of the band, and when you listen to it from that perspective, it's a really sad song. But being the brilliant songwriter that he is, Fogerty is able to write it in such a way where it can really transcend a specific meaning, and there can be many different interpretations to it. And the line, of course, is, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? And here in the South, that's a phenomenon that happens quite a bit, actually. I've seen it many, many times over the course of my life, where the sun is shining but the rain's coming down. And metaphorically, there'd be something so good going on, but there's some rain coming down, dampening that good thing that's going on. And John was specifically talking about, here they were on top of the world, but all these internal struggles were going on inside the band, and he knew it was all fixing to come to end. Great stuff. Another great roots rock song. Let's listen to that. This has got a fully produced video with it. Thumping bass on this, really good. Great song, and I have not checked out that officially released video. I remember when it came out here a couple of years ago, a few years ago now, maybe, I can't remember. Definitely a top 10. Might actually have that was my number 1, I'm not sure. Number 2, Looking Out My Back Door, great song, one of my favorites. Right off, not sure if that would be a top 10 for me. Let's see what the authors have to say here. The track is filled with such atmosphere and imagery that you can almost picture John Fogerty cradling his mug as he leans out of his stable door with the sun on his face and pocketfuls of relaxed contentment. I agree with that. This was actually written, a lot of people thought that it was a drug song, that this was written while John was high on LSD or something and having a trip, because there's so much. The lyrics talk about tambourines and elephants playing in the band, a flying spoon. It all sounds like a lot of drug references, a lot of things that may have been seen on a drug trip. But he actually wrote this for his son, and he was inspired by a Dr. Seuss book. I can't remember the name of it, something about Mulberry. I can't remember. But anyway, something Mulberry Street, I think. But anyway, he wanted to write a song that was like a Dr. Seuss book, but in song format. And he absolutely nailed it here. And this is a kind of a country folk, acoustic, heavy song. It's got a lot of scratchy acoustics. It's got a lot of little bitty guitar licks that are really good, really tastefully done. Not really flashy, but just fantastic. There's also a key change as he heads towards the end of the song. The acoustic guitar slides up the neck to make the key change, and it's just brilliantly executed. However, because their catalog is so large, I'm not sure if it will make the top 10. Let's take a listen. Alright, so I had a little issue with the video playing there. Not sure what happened, but we're going to move on. But yeah, great. It's a great song. Happy little ditty. I love that start out with that scratchy acoustic. Really good. Not sure if it would make the top 10. Alright, number 1. Alright, Fortunate Son. Yeah, this is definitely a top 10. I don't think I would put it at number 1. Definitely not over Proud Mary. Maybe a couple of other ones that we've heard. I do understand why It's on here. It is a great song. Definitely should be in the top 10. This is one of the songs that the Library of Congress has chosen for preservation because of its cultural and historical significance. All that. This, of course, was John's big protest song, often called an anti-Vietnam War song, but it wasn't actually that. It was actually an anti-unfair treatment in the draft song. So what Fogerty was looking at, he had gotten drafted, and he was looking around, and politicians and millionaires' kids weren't getting drafted because they had connections, and that's what he wrote this song about. And the music is great. Again, I feel like it's almost a little bit advanced for its time, a little bit ahead of its time on the sound. There's a hardness and an edginess and a grittiness that I feel like came more into its own in the 70s as opposed 70s rock as opposed to the late 60s here. But it's a great song, and we're going to take a listen here. That driving bass from Stu there. Vocals on this. Just one of the really great iconic rock songs, not only of that generation but of all time. It's stood the test of time like so many of these have. Definitely think this should be a top 10. I don't think I would put it necessarily in the number 1 slot. I just don't think that it's quite as iconic as some of the other ones on here, particularly Proud Mary. I go back to that one almost immediately. As far as the rest of the list, so let's take a look. We've got Fortunate Son, I said yes. Looking Out My Door, I said probably not. Have You Ever Seen the Rain was a yes. Bad Moon Rising was a yes. Run Through the Jungle was a probably not. Proud Mary was a yes. Who Stop the Rain was a yes. SUZIE Q was a probably not. It's Just a Thought was a definitely not. And Green River was a probable. So I've got 5 to 6 spots here that I feel like, yeah, they definitely are top 10 CCR. And I don't necessarily disagree with anything that the author said about any of these songs. I just feel like not all of them are top 10 if you're going to be pulling the quote-unquote best, and you're going to be looking at cultural and historical significance, songwriting, which includes lyrics and music. I just don't think that some of these would make it if I were putting the list together. So I would say if we're going to take 5 of those, I'm going to leave Green River out for just a minute, but 5 of those definite. And I have 5 spots to fill. Born on the Bayou's got to go on this. Born on the Bayou is more so than Green River is their swamp rock anthem. Even though it was a B-side of Proud Mary that didn't even chart, it's become iconic. It's a classic rock radio staple. I think that's got to go on the list. So let's call that. We're at 6. Long as I Can See the Light. Put a candle in the window. I'm trying not to let my own personal taste influence this. Long as I Can See the Light is my favorite song of all time. But I think objectively, it's such a mournful blues ballad, though, that has hope, and it's something that we can all connect with. It's a story about somebody being away from home and they're coming back, and just the way Fogerty lays it out, and the music and the instrumentation. There's a sax solo, it's excellent. The lyrics, the way he belts it out, the impact that he's able to make with his vocals is just excellent. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the top at 7. If we're looking at album cuts, Wrote a Song for Everyone's got to be in there. Wrote a song for everyone. Wrote a song for true. Wrote a Song for Everyone might be Fogerty's masterpiece. It's a 5-minute album cut from Green River album. This is another one I've written review of. I did a written review of that entire record on my website several years ago. He's talking about the Civil War in the verse 1 and 2, And then in the chorus, he's saying, wrote a song for everyone, but I couldn't even talk to you. And he's actually talking about his first marriage falling apart, about his relationship with his wife, which is just, is very sad to think about that when you listen to those lyrics. But it's something that is so poignant and truthful. He had written so many songs already at that time that were big, and everybody were like, "Oh man, listen to this guy. He's such a great writer. His music really speaks to me." But he couldn't even sit down and have a conversation with his wife and talk their problems out. So really, really great deep stuff there. Then in the third verse, he kind of takes where he's been talking about the Civil War and compares it to the current era, the 1960s unrest. Really well done. Really good songwriting. It's kind of a country rock ballad. It's got some great guitar licks in there. Really great stuff. So let's say that would be 8. And let's see those last 2 spots. Ramble Tamble. Another great album cut, not very well known at all. Fogerty was really showing how he could experiment and do these 8-minute jams like the best of them. He starts out with kind of a Bad Moon Rising rockabilly feel with a great riff, and then he just slows it down and then completely changes the song into this anthemic rock that just builds and builds and builds and builds. It keeps going, a little faster, 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 faster. Then he comes back into the rockabilly thing, and he's just talking about the craziness of everything that was going on at the time in 1970. That number 10 spot would be really hard for me. Maybe Midnight Special, maybe Green River. We talked about that, which they had in the list. Down on the Corner, Up Around the Bend, Keep on Shuglin', maybe, but I feel like Green River would go above Keep on Shuglin', because Keep on Shuglin' would be there for the swamp rock thing, and we've already got Born the Bayou, and if we're going to do another one, Green River over Keep on Shuglin'. All right, twist ending. Whenever I originally recorded this video 8 days ago, I decided that Green River was going to take that 10th spot, and now 8 days later, when I'm in here editing, I'm like, nope, you know what? Lodi. Lodi, one of CCR's best songs, definitely one of their best country rockers. It's very Eagles-esque. It's easy feel. The lyrics are talking about this washed up singer who was a rising star, and then he ended up getting stuck playing for a bar crowd. And as John joked when he wrote that song, he wasn't actually stuck in Lodi. That didn't happen until many years later. So just a great track, and that's going to be my top 10, at least for now. That could change in the future, but right now, analyzing lyrics, music, theme, production, historical and cultural significance, all those factors together, this is my top 10 best CCR list. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider supporting us on Patreon, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you soon.